Back in 2015, which is 7 years ago now, I wanted to copy an idea from Wiley Becker's Wicked Kingdom card series and do a tarot deck with dinosaurs as a motif. I didn't plan the project very well and burned out, but the idea has always been in the back of my mind as a major project I'd like to complete someday. I've written and illustrated my own book about dinosaurs. My own love of drawing animals has given me a secondary love for evolutionary taxonomy and natural history. But when it came to art with a capital A, I really wondered what I wanted to say with all these dinos and fantasy gear using magic. We currently have a problem with anthropocentric views of the world. We think we're the center of the universe when we're probably not going to live longer than the first eon of the dinosaurs. And that's what this deck is kind of about. We have the gift to understand the things that cause extinction, and we are really not being that smart about it. There are fossils that are older than all of our written history. There's plagues that are older than our entire existence. We don't matter that much, except to ourselves, and even then, that's not enough for us to do better. This deck is about humility. It's about acknowledging that dinosaurs were the grand, successful species of our planet. If aliens find Earth, they'll call it that dinosaur planet. And then, that dinosaur planet where the last sentient species invented single-use plastic and poisoned themselves to death with a thing that couldn't be biodegraded by microbes until one evolved 2 million years later. I mean, maybe. We're working on it. 100,000 years is how long it took for dinosaurs to go extinct. We're about that old in terms of a species that just evolved on this planet. And we're looking at a radiated extinction that will make the comet that wiped out the dinosaurs look like a firecracker. The dinosaurs lasted 165 million years in the flower of the Earth's youth. We are a waning planet in the grand scheme of the universe with life planets and suns. Dinosaurs are the Earth's jewels. They are some of the most amazing creatures that have ever existed, 100% unique to Earth and Earth alone. And we bombed the only full Spinosaurus fossil to ever exist to dust in World War II. If humanity is ever to travel and exist among the stars, if we do have some grander scheme to take part in than just being monkeys that invented microplastics and capitalism, I would like to think that duty is to bring the wonder of dinosaurs to other appreciators, let's call them. Alien sentients, perhaps. God forbid they're not sentient. We will not be kind. Anyway, the wild and weird possibilities of dinosaurs gives us permission to be both fantasy and nature lovers. Everyone loves dinosaurs. This is a project I've wanted to do for a long time and used to challenge myself to get better. This is the Dinosaur Tarot. For the moment, I will be concentrating on the major arcana, which is 22 cards. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do a full deck of 78 or a 53 card deck, but we'll see. 22 cards is a good goal. So the first card that we will be working on is the High Priestess, and she is the second card of the major arcana. Where I started with my cards was their element, their astrology, and what kind of card they are, a yes, no, or a maybe. The High Priestess is a water card, and her planet is the moon. She is also a maybe card. The High Priestess is associated with feminine energy. She has a lunar crescent at her feet and wears a horned diadem on her head with a globe in the middle. She is associated with mystery, stillness, and passivity. Hidden talents, intuition, mystery, and spiritual insight when she is upright, and when she is reversed, she represents information withheld, a lack of personal harmony, and secrets. When I was little, I had the appropriately named Spike, who was one of these model dinosaurs. I believe they're made by Aurora now. I know them as Aurora. That's quite a take, though. I mean, look at that, like, slit vertical pupil and those teeth. He had a lot of character. I guess I feel like there was a lot of ferocity and never back down attitude, and that kind of cemented my love for Styracosaurus, for best ceratopsid ever. I was inspired by this painting by James Gurney called Song in the Garden. where a Styracosaurus is helping with a healing ritual, and I really liked the feeling of serenity and peace that's in this painting, and decided I was going to do something similar pose-wise. I liked the idea of a raised forepaw. I wanted her to be performing some kind of ritual or magic, maybe trying to tell the future, in ceremonial armor in a garden. So with that, I was ready to start sketching. So when I was starting out, I pretty much started with that horned diadem symbol because I kept seeing it pop up so often. And then I did kind of some layout stuff. I'm still not sure about the framing of the cards. So I definitely explored that horned diadem a lot. And then it was influencing this idea of like, don't gild the lily, that I didn't want her to look like she was, you know, over decorated. I wanted her to look like she was preparing for a ceremony. And I was definitely going for a more tribal look. There's a lot more Aztec type designs in her costume. And I was also establishing like my tree shapes, kind of my compositional shapes there at the bottom that you see, like the circle is there, and I've got like my preliminary sketches here that she at least has her forepaw up. I really liked the gesture I did, kind of here towards the bottom, but her weight distribution was wrong, so I had to fix that. This is the second page where I tried to like really define my composition and things that I needed to pay attention to. I think the best thing that came out of this was that I actually got like the crystal ball, the horned diadem, to actually become a three-dimensional figure, and that became very important later on. I was also drawing just like little pieces of fantasy armor and various things that I found, and again you can see that little Aztec influence, that it's kind of a flat sword that's like a Aztec mackweedle, the little like square teeth, that's also a mackweedle. When I actually was done and, you know, had a working drawing going, I tried to do a little bit of like light versus shadow, and that did not go very well. But I think that's what they mean when they say sometimes you have to do bad art in order to do good art. I took what I had to work with and all of my reference, and I moved entirely into Photoshop. So in a lot of my development work here, you can see that like nothing is spared. Every line that I put down for the most part in these little sketches and development have value. You can see that I blow up like my little composition thumbnails and use them as a way to place my figure accurately. Again, I'm using that gesture I really liked, but it needed to be fixed later. But you can at least see here that I am putting in my elements and how they correspond with one another, and trying to fix things, trying to fix my shapes, and then I start going into perspective, and I move from gesture into structured drawing so that I know where kind of everything is. I feel like this stuff is kind of important to talk about because people talk about the fear of the blank page a lot, and a lot of this is just getting down your information, doing information that will improve your next drawing, because a lot of this stuff is just iterative drawing. I see that her mouth was open, and that changed. You know, it's not there anymore. I'm really learning a lot more about structural drawing recently, and this was really important for me to have like a figure that I understood, and that I understood like all of the shapes that I was working with, however simplified they may be. They still needed to make sense in three-dimensional space, and that was very important. So in a lot of my development work here, you can see that like nothing is spared. Every line that I put down for the most part in these little sketches and development have value. You can see that I blow up like my little composition thumbnails and use them as a way to place my figure accurately. Again, I'm using that gesture I really liked, but it needed to be fixed later. But you can at least see here that I am putting in my elements and how they correspond with one another, and trying to fix things, trying to fix my shapes, and then I start going into perspective, and I move from gesture into structured drawing so that I know where kind of everything is. I feel like this stuff is kind of important to talk about because people talk about the fear of the blank page a lot, and a lot of this is just getting down your information, doing information that will improve your next drawing, because a lot of this stuff is just iterative drawing. I see that her mouth was open, and that changed. You know, it's not there anymore. I'm really learning a lot more about structural drawing recently, and this was really important for me to have, like, a figure that I understood, and that I understood, like, all of the shapes that I was working with, however simplified they may be. They still needed to make sense in three-dimensional space, and that was very important. Once I was finished with the digital mock-up, I had it printed out on 11 by 17, just mailed to me through FedEx, and then I attached it to a piece of 11 by 17 Bristol board with some painter's tape so that I could use a light box to trace everything and have it be accurate. So here, magically, we have the completed drawing. I would like to be able to record my drawing process eventually, but I am disabled and I draw in bed. I have not been able to figure out a good way to record that yet. But this is the completed drawing, and we're moving on to ink wash. And here we are. This is the final drawing that I will be taking into Clip Studio Paint and probably some Photoshop. And I will do that in a separate video. But this is all about development and how I get to the point where I am ready to paint. I hope you appreciated the video. And if you would like to become a part of the Dinosaur Tarot, there are some handy-dandy rules I have for you. If you would like to make a suggestion for the Dinosaur Tarot's future cards, please abide by these 3 rules, because if you don't, I'm very likely to ignore your suggestion. And I reserve all right to pick and choose the ideas, because this is my artwork and my deck. First, you are welcome to recommend a species. Please don't make the species so obscure that it has no reconstruction. I need to be able to research, reference, and make these creatures as accurate as possible. Rule number 2, prehistoric mammals are welcome. Bring on the Smilodons and the Megaloceros, the Chalcotheres, and the Indracotherium. Dinosaurs are the focus of this deck, but one of the themes is extinction. You are welcome to make a species recommendation that is not specifically dinosaurs. Rule 3, feel free to suggest a setting or a card theme. Lots of symbols and such can influence a card. Feel free to make your own suggestions to be incorporated into the card. I'm aware that there are a lot of people out there that know the tarot better than I and might be able to have some better insights. Those insights are welcome. I will be accepting comments and suggestions for 3 future cards for probably the next month or so. After that, you're out of luck. The card names are the Magician, the Fool, and the Moon. And that about wraps it up. Make sure to like, subscribe. I really hope that I will see a lot of engagement with this project because I'm really excited about it. This has been Coyote Clockwork.